Hi, my name's Eric. I'll be reading you selections from today's Cape Cod Times. Today's date is Monday, April 27th of 2026. We'll start with the weather, as we always do, and across the Cape and Islands today, mostly sunny, a gorgeous day ahead, breezy in the afternoon, high of 56 and a low of 38 with a clear overnight weather forecast. On Tuesday, tomorrow, sunshine, breezy in the afternoon, high of 54, low of 46. On Wednesday, cloudy with a couple of showers possible, a high of 56 and a low of 47. On Thursday, a morning shower or two, and then showers through the day, high of 57, low of 48. And on Friday, mostly cloudy. So, the best couple of days are today and tomorrow, with the rest of the weekdays being mostly cloudy and a little wet. The sun will rise at 5:43 a.m. today. It'll set at 7:35 p.m. We'll have 13 hours and 52 minutes of daylight. The moon will rise at 3:45 p.m. and set at 3:45 a.m. Heading to the front of the paper, where they used to keep the lottery results. And we read these because, well, somebody asked for them. And if there's something that you would like read to people who are blind or print disabled, you can email us at info@audiblelocalledger.org or call us at 508-539-2030, and we'll consider reading it. And if you miss any of the information we share in our readings, you can always go to audiblelocalledger.org. It's a fully disability-compliant website. Click on the Listen tab, and All Reads to the Blind has a chronological listing of all of our most recent readings. So the most recent would be at the top, and older ones would be at the bottom, and you can catch up on anything you might have missed. All of that's free for people who are blind or print disabled at audiblelocalledger.org. We go to masslottery.com because the Cape Cod Times goes to press too early to give you those latest results. And with the numbers game results for Sunday, April 26th, in the midday, the winning numbers were 9, 6, 4, 3. Yesterday's midday winning numbers again, 9, 6, 4, 3. In the evening of the numbers game drawing, the results were 7, 8, 6, 7. Again, last night's numbers game results in the evening, 7, 8, 6, 7. Good luck to all who play, and remember us if you win. From the front page of today's Cape Cod Times, Western Massachusetts college leader is headed toward an interim role, by Zane Razak. Trustees at Cape Cod Community College unanimously approved the appointment of Ellen Kennedy as the school's interim president on Wednesday. But a spokesman for the faculty believes the process was rushed and didn't take staff opinion into account. The move comes as the school continues to grapple with the aftermath from misconduct findings regarding former president John Cox. Kennedy has served as the president of Berkshire Community College for the past 14 years. The recommendation now goes to the Massachusetts Commissioner of Higher Education for approval. Cox retired in mid-March after being placed on paid administrative leave in October. A student came forward to file a complaint against Cox. Tammy Glavinsky-Sabin, the chair of the college's Board of Trustees, said in a meeting on Wednesday. In an email to the Times, Michael Betchlich, business professor and president of the Cape Cod Community College Association, said the board missed an opportunity to hear from campus stakeholders. Rushing ahead with the vote without any opportunity for two-way communication further erodes trust in the board and leadership team and lessens faith in the process, said Betlich. The board needs to stop using the excuse of the need for privacy and confidentiality as a reason to not have two-way communication with the college community. All they have to do is listen. At the start of the hearing, Glavinsky-Sabin acknowledged that the board received 2 letters from faculty and staff unions asking for the vote to be delayed. She said she believed delaying the vote would seriously jeopardize our ability to secure the candidate we have before us for discussion. The immensely challenging situation that has come to light over the last 6 months is not over. It's not ended yet, said Glivinsky Sabin. It's not over. The report has been with the board for less than a week before the news reports began and are still fresh. And as the college, we have not yet been able to even address the recommendations before us. The work ahead is significant, and we will need to move forward together. After the investigation, it was determined that Cox didn't violate the college's policy on affirmative action, equal opportunity, and diversity, but he did engage in inappropriate and unprofessional conduct toward the complainant that was inconsistent with his role as president, according to a statement released April 10th by 4C's Board of Trustees. During the course of the investigation that took place, which was an affirmative action discrimination complaint involving a student and several other parties, confidentiality processes and federally mandated student records protection needed to be followed, said Glivinsky Sabin. That complaint process ended April 9th, and the college was notified of the details the following day. Kennedy, in September, announced she would retire from Berkshire Community College at the end of this academic year. She plans to delay retirement to fill the job at the Cape Cod College. A permanent replacement will later be selected. Kennedy is expected to start at the college on July 1st. In her own remarks, Kennedy said she comes with no agenda other than stability, service to your students, and doing everything I can to support the college's day-to-day work, as well as the search for the next permanent president. I don't take lightly what you've been through this year, said Kennedy in her own remarks. I want you to know that I'm not here to paper over what happened or to move past it too quickly. Institutions heal when people feel heard, when leadership is present and transparent, and when trust is rebuilt. Keeping it local as we move inside the paper, Bourne Bridge maintenance work to begin by Heather McCarran. Traffic across one of Cape Cod's key gateways will be shifting into a new pattern as seasonal maintenance work begins on the Bourne Bridge, bringing lane changes, a short sidewalk closure, and slower crossings at times through late May. Starting on Monday, April 27th, and that's today, travel over the Cape Cod Canal via the Bourne Bridge will be reduced to a single 12-foot lane in each direction, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers New England District advised in a work alert that was issued on Friday. The lane constrictions will remain in place 24 hours a day until the project is finished. Project work and lane restrictions are expected to be complete no later than May 20th, the agency stated, prior to the Memorial Day holiday that's traditionally the start of the Cape's busiest travel season. The work includes resurfacing the bridge deck, repairing steel joints worn down over the winter, and maintaining lighting and drainage systems along the span. Drivers should expect the most noticeable slowdowns during morning and afternoon peak travel periods, when Cape-bound and off-Cape traffic naturally builds. Work zones will be clearly marked with signs, cones, message boards, and police details, helping guide vehicles through the reduced lanes. Oversized and wide-load vehicles will not be allowed to cross during the maintenance work. Walkers will also see a brief change in routine. The Bourne Bridge sidewalk is scheduled to close for about 7 days, also starting on April 27th and reopen around May 4th, while crews complete repairs next to the walkway. The Army Corps emphasized that the maintenance work is critical to maintaining the structural integrity of the Bourne Bridge, a vital component to the transportation system of Cape Cod, the islands, and southeastern Massachusetts. The work maintains the bridge's integrity until it can be replaced. That'll happen through the $4.5 billion Cape Cod Bridges program, which aims to replace both of the 1935 steel truss spans, Sagamore Bridge first, starting in winter of 27 and 28, followed by the Bourne Bridge. Both new bridges are anticipated to open around 2036 or 2037. According to the state DOT, the final environmental impact report for the Sagamore Bridge replacement was filed in March, with certification expected by the end of June. Meanwhile, the design-build procurement phase was launched on April 17th. Both bridges will be replaced with new twin-arch bridges, separating traffic in each direction to its own bridge, according to the state. This will not only increase safety and improve traffic operations once the program is complete, but it will also reduce construction impacts on the traveling public in the navigational channel. The agency states on its website it will allow construction to be conducted in stages so that 2 lanes of travel in each direction can be maintained without long-term lane closures during construction. Each arch span will be constructed off-site and floated in on the canal by barge and then lifted into place. An example of this process from the Lake Champlain Bridge in New York can be viewed online. You can look up Lake Champlain Bridge time-lapse on YouTube. 2 men plead guilty to damaging Harvard building by Denise Coffey. A Bourne man has pleaded guilty in federal court in Boston to using a commercial firework on Halloween night to damage a Harvard Medical School building, according to a press release from the U.S. Department of Justice. Dominic Frank Cardoza, 21 years old of Bourne, and Logan David Patterson, 18 years old of Plymouth, each pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to damage by means of an explosive. Sentencings are scheduled for August 4th, according to the release. Surveillance camera images captured 2 men on November 1st, 2025 at 2:23 a.m. walking in the vicinity of Harvard Medical School's campus, and minutes later lighting what appeared to be Roman candle fireworks. About 10 minutes later, the men were seen climbing over chain-link fencing into an area by the Goldenson building, and then climbing scaffolding to the roof. At approximately 2:45 a.m., campus police received a fire alarm alert from the 4th floor of the Goldenson building, which houses a research laboratory. It was determined that the defendants detonated a large commercial firework inside a wooden locker in the 4th floor research laboratory, according to the release. Other security footage captured the defendants visiting the building's 5th floor before exiting via a 1st floor emergency exit. They left in opposite directions, removing and discarding clothing items they'd worn on the Harvard Medical School campus. They returned to the Wentworth Institute of Technology, where they were visiting for Halloween. The men were later identified as Patterson and Cardoza. They were arrested and charged in November of 2025. The charge of conspiracy to damage by means of fire or an explosive provides for a sentence of up to 5 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of up to $250,000. Moving to the Cape and Islands section, 3 New England states, including Rhode Island, consider self-checkout regulation, by Greta Cross and Rin Velasco of the USA Today Network of New England. Do self-checkout systems take jobs away from workers? Legislators in 3 New England states, including Rhode Island, are discussing stricter regulations on self-checkout systems in grocery stores. Specifically, these states are looking to enact legislation that would require a balance between employee-operated and self-checkout stations, a certain number of employees per self-checkout. Self-checkout systems have been a popular topic of discussion in recent years, with some retailers phasing out all employee-operated checkouts and others, like Walmart, removing many of their self-checkouts to return to the basics. The New England-based grocery store chain Market Basket doesn't have any self-checkout systems. As self-checkouts continue to be part of the shopping dialogue, here's a look at the legislation on the table in New England. As of April 23rd, no states have passed self-checkout related legislation. Here's a closer look at the legislation states and municipalities in New England that are looking to and have passed regarding self-checkouts. In Rhode Island, in January, Rhode Island Representative Megan Cotter, a Democrat from Exeter, Hopkinton, Richmond, introduced House Bill 7290, which, if passed, would prohibit grocery stores from operating more than 8 self-checkouts at once and require the same stores to operate 1 manual checkout station per 2 self-checkouts, according to the proposal. The bill would also require 1 employee to be assigned to every 2 self-checkout stations for monitoring. Limiting the number of self-checkout aisles a store can have is all about preserving jobs and hours worked, she previously said. In Massachusetts, Senator Paul Feeney introduced Senate Bill 237 in early 2025. If passed, the bill would prohibit grocery stores from operating more than 8 self-checkout stations at once. Stores would also be required to have one manual checkout station operated by an employee for every 2 self-checkout stations. The bill was last reported to a Senate committee in December of 2025, according to the Mass Legislature website. USA Today has reached out to Feeney for more information. Connecticut. In Connecticut, 3 representatives introduced Senate Bill 438, which, if passed, would require grocery stores with self-checkout stations to have one employee-manned checkout station for every 2 self-checkouts. The bill would also prohibit grocery stores from operating more than 8 self-checkouts at one time. The bill was referred to a Senate committee on April 15th. And again, USA Today reached out to the bill's co-sponsors for more information. So it sounds like the main thing that would be the same across all 3 states is that they would have to have one employee manned checkout station for every 2 self-checkouts, and you can't have more than 8 self-checkouts in any of these bills. So we'll see what happens with that. Editorial note, Wheeler Copperthwaite contributed to the reporting of this story. Cape Cod's Hui reimagines the ocean and wins big at the Webbies by Heather McCarran. Most maps break the world into tidy chunks of land and water. A team at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution did the opposite, and people around the world have taken notice. Hui has earned the 2026 People's Voice Award from the Webby Awards for It's an Ocean World, an interactive web project that invites users to see Earth not as continents surrounded by water, but as one vast connected ocean. Often described as the Internet's highest honor, the Webby Awards are presented by the International Academy of Digital Arts and Sciences and recognize excellence across websites, video, advertising, apps, and digital storytelling. In the online world, they're comparable in prestige to the Academy Awards for film and the Emmy Awards for television, a benchmark for creative and technical accomplishments on the web. More than 940,000 people from around the world cast more than 4.6 million ballots for the Hui project. For the scientific institution based in Woods Hole, it marks a notable first after years of nominations and recognitions dating back to 2001. Released in 2025 as part of Hui's campaign for Our Ocean Planet, the project centers on what's called the Spillhouse projection, created by oceanographer Athelstan Spillhouse, who worked at Hui in the 40s and died in 1998. The Spillhouse vision is simple. On a familiar world map, continents sit in the middle, oceans are split apart and labeled separately, Atlantic, Pacific, Indian, etc., given the impression of disconnected expanses. Spillhouse flipped that perspective. He rotated and reshaped the map so the oceans become the focal point, and they read as one continuous body of water, with land pushed outward like a frame. So instead of separate oceans divided by land, one global ocean system comes into view, flowing without interruption. That shift makes big systems easier to follow. Features like the global ocean conveyor, which moves heat and nutrients around the planet, are clearer when they aren't broken up into different ocean basins, but they can be traced as one connected loop. Hui's creative team brought that idea to life online, layering in animation and storytelling that guide users through ocean currents, mid-ocean ridges, polar systems, the ocean twilight zone, and massive phytoplankton blooms. The institution's chief communications officer, Danielle Fino, said that the public-driven recognition reflects how the project has resonated globally. The People's Voice Award is especially meaningful because it reflects the strength of the Hui community and how this experience is connected with audiences, Fino said. It's an Ocean's World. Invite audiences was created to shift how we see our planet, and it's inspiring to see that connection come to life. For those who built it, translating ocean science into something both accurate and visually appealing required rethinking familiar perspectives. Natalie Renier, Hui senior science illustrator, worked on the Spillhouse-based designs for the project. The Spillhouse map animations invite people to reimagine the world from an ocean point of view. It was a rewarding challenge to map ocean data in this projection, like currents, temperature, and sea ice, she said. It was euphoric when I saw the animations come together for the first time. It's exciting to share this work on a bigger stage to hopefully inspire others to think differently about our big blue planet. The Webby Awards, now in their 30th year, received more than 13,000 entries from more than 70 countries. Within that field, Hui's project stood out for its blend of science, storytelling, and design. The institution's past Webby accolades include nominations and honors across categories, including science and education, viral video, and experimental work. By turning the map inside out, It's an Ocean's World asked a simple question. What changes when you stop seeing the ocean in background and the ocean as background, I believe is what they mean to say, and start seeing it as the main story? The website project can be viewed at www.whoi.edu/campaign/Why the Ocean. With so little local news in the Monday edition of the Cape Cod Times, we'll move to obituaries, a different kind of local news. And our first obituary in the Cape Cod Times of April 27th is of Joseph T. O'Connor of West Chatham, who at the age of 81 passed on April 14th. Joe graduated from Christian Brothers Academy in 1962 and from Boston College in 1966. After college, Joe joined the U.S. Navy. Thank you, Mr. O'Connor, for your service. And he was awarded the National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnam Service Medal, and the Vietnam Campaign Medal before being honorably discharged from service. He was and always remained very proud to be a member of the community of Vietnam veterans. In the 1990s, Joe moved to the Cape and eventually into the family home that his parents built and his family had enjoyed seasonally for nearly 40 years. In typical style, he quickly reconnected with old friends and developed new ties in and around Chatham. He found his purpose, however, in his part-time work at the Hyannis VA Clinic, where he dedicated his time to making military veteran clients feel welcome and assisting fellow veterans in obtaining medical services. 6 years ago, Joe took on a final new job, one that he treasured when he became a grandfather. His granddaughter, Abigail Alva Johnson, brought him great joy. Joe is survived by many family and friends. Calling hours will be on Saturday, May 2nd, that's this coming Saturday, from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at Doan, Beal & Ames, 160 West Main Street in Hyannis. The burial will be private. Joe would be glad if, in his memory, his friends would take a moment to express support for active and retired United States service members. Thank you again for your service, Mr. O'Connor. The next obituary is of Eugene Clarence Mars, Jr. of Forestdale, who passed on April 22nd at the age of 91. Eugene was born in Sydney, Ohio, January 30th of 1935. He was in the Air Force as an airman, second-class radar technician, but was medically discharged after 10 years. He was also a member of the Moose Lodge. He worked for a mechanic for many, many businesses, and he owned his own business, Gene Mars Enterprises, for many years in Sandwich. He loved tinkering with anything mechanical. Services for Eugene will be held Thursday, April 30th, at the Nickerson-Bourne Funeral Home, 154 Mass 6A in Sandwich, starting at 11 a.m. It'll be followed by a burial at the Sandwich Town Cemetery, 231 Route 130 in Sandwich at 1:30 p.m. We invite you all to join us at the Valley Grill, 309 Old Barnstable Road in Mashpee afterwards for a celebration of life. The next obituary is of Barbara Llewellyn Walters of Barnstable, known as Babs, who passed peacefully at home in her sleep on the early morning of April 18th at the age of 98. She would have been 99 on May 5th. She was born in New Jersey and grew up in Montclair, New Jersey, and then Summit, New Jersey, with summers at Grandview-on-Hudson, Nyack, New York. She married Joseph Walters Jr. in 1948. Upon his graduation from Brown in 1950, they settled in Scarsdale, New York, where they lived for 21 years and raised their 3 sons. She and her husband relocated to Barnstable in 1971. Following medical training, she was, for 15 years, her husband's home dialysis medical technician. She loved being part of the Barnstable community and loved joining friends for a swim at the Barnstable Yacht Club. She lived her last 12 years with severe hearing and vision impairments. She's survived by many family and friends, and a memorial service will be held at St. Mary's Church in Barnstable on Tuesday, May 5th at 10:30 a.m. In lieu of flowers, any donations may be made to the Perkins Library for the Blind in Watertown or Broadreach Hospice in North Chatham. The final obituary in today's Cape Cod Times is of Marie J. Keefe of Maynard and Yarmouth, who at the age of 98 passed on April 9th. Teacher, librarian, avid traveler, Marie Josephine Oakes Keefe was the beloved wife of the late Joseph A. Keefe for 54 years, with whom she raised 6 children. She was born in Arlington, Mass., and graduated from Simmons College in 1948 with a B.A. in English, after which she worked as an editor at Shoe and Leather Reporter. She earned a master's in library science with a focus on children's literature at Boston State in 1971, and was a longtime teacher librarian at the former Agassiz School in Cambridge, where she also taught ESL and citizenship classes. She leaves many family and friends. Visitation is 5 to 7 p.m. on April 30th at the Chapman Funerals and Cremations, 58 Long Pond Drive in South Yarmouth. A funeral mass will be said May 1st at 11 a.m. at St. Pius X Church in South Yarmouth. Burial will follow at the Massachusetts National Cemetery in Bourne. In lieu of flowers, any memorial donations may be made to the VNA of Cape Cod, the Catholic Charities, or your local hospice. And with that, we've come to the end of not only our obituaries, but of our reading of the Cape Cod Times. We got you all the local news fit to print and the weather. This is your reader, Eric, saying be well, be safe, look after each other, and remember our veterans, especially those we've lost recently. Bye for now.